to also say that I'm assuming that most of the people in the audience do not have or not most of the people, but at least half of the people in the audience do not have the technology that is usually discussed in these type of lectures, the microscope and all the new technologies. So I'm going to be talking to you on basic principles in a rather light way in terms of research, etc. But hopefully in the limited time we have here today, I'll be able to make my point and be able to at least give an understandable presentation. So when we talk about endodontics, and this is a slide that I use in almost every lecture I give, we have to define, first of all, what we're talking about. And basically, we are healthcare professionals. We almost require a disease in order to be healthcare professionals. So what is our disease in endodontics? Excuse me, our disease is periradicular and what we always seem to call apical periodontitis, which is very simply inflammation of the surrounding root due to pathogens within the root canal system. So generally it's apical periodontitis, and occasionally if they're lateral canals or some type of traumatic injury that removes the protective cementum, this becomes lateral or periradicular periodontitis. And like any disease, there's two aspects to the disease. The most preferable disease entity is prevention. If I'm a cardiologist, I'd rather prevent heart disease than treat heart disease. It's exactly the same with apical periodontitis. We'd like to prevent it rather than eliminate it or heal it, which is much, much more difficult. And the reason it's much more difficult is when we're preventing the disease, we are preventing the cause of the disease, which assumes that the cause is not there, and the cause of the disease are microbes. So prevention is the prevention of microbes in the root canal system, and that in clinical terms is the vital tooth. And the vital tooth we can divide into two separate entities: vital pulp therapy, the best endodontics you could possibly do, and that is maintaining a healthy vital pulp. And if you have a healthy vital pulp, you will not have microbes. And if you don't have microbes, you won't have periradicular periodontitis. The second part, which I'm not going to get into today, is actually the root canal treatment, not endodontics. We get this mixed up. The root canal treatment of a vital tooth. And that, from a conceptual point of view, is very, very simple. No microbes to start. If there are no microbes at the end, due to asepsis and an aseptic technique that you've used in your root canal treatment, you will have a successful case, assuming a reasonable filling and a good top filling. Of course, elimination means that the root canal system is already infected, and if it's already infected, to get rid of the microbes to an extent that the detector cannot see the disease anymore is not as easy as preventing the microbes, and certainly becoming harder as we go along if you think of a 3D X-ray compared to the typical periapical 2D X-ray. Now, all of this is on the assumption that we're not going to lose the tooth. This is something that, in my mind, has always remained unsaid because it was not necessary to say it. But in the present atmosphere of endodontics, where we're talking about survivability, ninja type of things, leaving all tooth structure, sometimes at the expense of microbes, we have to state the obvious, in my view, is that as dentists, it is our aim to maintain the natural dentition. if at all possible. Of course, we have, in this era, we have an